In 1980, the average American worker did not really need to plan for retirement. Their company did it for them. Roughly 60% of full-time workers were enrolled in a traditional pension plan, where the employer promised a fixed monthly check for life. In exchange for decades of loyal service, the worker did not pick the investments. The worker did not bear the market risk. The worker did not need a financial advisor to retire. By 2026, less than 15% of American workers still have access to a pension of any kind. The other 85% are now expected to be their own pension manager, their own actuary, and their own investment expert, in addition to whatever they were already doing for a living. Same country, same retirement age, completely different math. And the difference has nothing to do with companies running out of money, nothing to do with workers becoming less loyal, and nothing to do with pensions being financially impossible. It has everything to do with a structural redesign of who is responsible when an aging worker can no longer work. A redesign nobody officially announced, and almost nobody has explained clearly until now. The popular story about retirement is that the 401k revolution gave workers more freedom. You can now control your own investments. You can change jobs without losing your retirement. You can leave your savings to your kids. And all of that is in a narrow sense true. But it leaves out the most important part of the story, which is that retirement risk did not disappear. It just moved from the employer's balance sheet to the worker's bedroom at 3 a.m. And once you understand what actually got transferred, you'll never look at your 401k statement the same way again. So it is time to learn how money works, to find out why your retirement got quietly outsourced to the one person least equipped to manage it. Okay, so the first thing to understand is that a traditional pension and a 401k are not just two different retirement products. They are two completely different distributions of risk. A pension puts the risk on the company. The company promises a fixed monthly benefit. If markets crash, the company still has to pay. If you live longer than expected, the company still has to pay. If inflation eats half your purchasing power, the company still has to pay. A 401k puts every single one of those risks on you. Market crashes, longevity, surprises, inflation, medical emergencies, market timing, all of it now sits on the shoulders of a person who is not trained in any of this. This is what economists politely call risk transfer. What it means in plain English is that the company kept the savings and gave you the homework, which brings us to problem number 2. For most of the 20th century, companies actually managed pension money quite well. They pooled the contributions of thousands of workers, hired professional fund managers, got access to wholesale investment costs, and spread risk across an entire workforce. The system worked because it operated at scale. When that system was dismantled, every worker now had to negotiate the same problems alone. You, on your own, pay retail fees on every fund you buy. You, on your own, bear the full impact of bad market timing. You, on your own, have to guess how long you will live and how much you will need to live on. A pension fund managing $50 billion pays roughly 0.1% in administrative costs. The average 401k participant pays around 1%. That gap, compounded over a 40-year career, quietly transfers about 30% of your final balance to the financial services industry. Same investments, same market returns, just a less efficient structure with higher fees that nobody warned you about. And this brings us to the third problem, which is the cruelest of all. The whole sales pitch for the 401k revolution was that workers would now have choice and freedom. What actually happened is that workers got a job. You are now expected to be a professional investor. On top of whatever else you do, you need to know about asset allocation. You need to rebalance your portfolio. You need to understand tax-efficient withdrawal sequencing. You need to project your longevity, estimate future healthcare costs, and model various inflation scenarios. None of this was your job in 1980. All of it is your job in 2026. And the consequences of getting any of it wrong are not symmetrical. If you make a small mistake at 35, you can lose 10 years of compounding by 65. If you panic during a market crash and sell, you can permanently impair your retirement. The financial industry sells products to help you, but every product comes with a fee. And most professional financial advice is structured in a way that does not legally have to be in your best interest. Now here's the part nobody at any human resources department really wants to say out loud. The shift from pensions to 401ks saved American corporations trillions of dollars in long-term liabilities. The Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation estimates that traditional pensions would have required companies to hold roughly $3 trillion in additional reserves today. That money did not disappear when pensions did. It became corporate profits, executive bonuses, shareholder dividends, and stock buybacks. The 401k was not a gift to workers. It was a transfer of obligations from corporate balance sheets to the bedrooms of millions of regular Americans. The system isn't broken. It is working exactly as designed for the people who designed it. The fact that it transfers retirement insecurity to workers while transferring saved liabilities to shareholders is not a bug. It is the actual function. So when someone tells you that managing your own retirement gives you freedom and flexibility, they are not lying exactly, but they are not telling you the whole truth either. What you actually got was a second unpaid job, managing risks that used to belong to someone else. That advice was correct in a narrow technical sense, but it described the freedom without ever describing the obligation. The harder you try to manage your retirement well, the more you realize how much was quietly placed on your shoulders by people who profited from putting it there. That is not a personal failing. That is the math of a retirement system that was redesigned to move risk in one direction. If you want to understand what other corporate obligations have been quietly transferred to your personal balance sheet, go and watch this video next. And don't forget to like and subscribe to keep on learning how money works.